The billionaire CEO pulled his baseball cap low and stepped into the grand ballroom of Pemberton Academy. Nobody recognized Damon Wells, not the security guard checking invitations, not the registration desk attendant, not even Preston Hartley commanding the microphone on stage. He'd come here undercover for a reason, but nothing could have prepared him for what he heard next. Raucous laughter erupted from the VIP lounge. Through the half-open door, a familiar name sliced through the air like a blade. Damon Wells, that black kid from back then. Garrett Knox raised his champagne glass high. I bet $1,000 he'll show up in a rented suit. The sound inside wasn't just laughter. It was the sound of predators planning to destroy their prey. Damon's heart pounded against his ribs. 5 years ago, he'd left this school drowning in tears and humiliation. Tonight, the truth he was about to unleash would change everything forever. The only question burning in his mind, were they ready for this shock? Stay with me. Because the next 3 hours will redefine the meaning of sweet revenge forever. Damon melted back into the shadows, watching from afar as Preston leaped onto the stage with practiced arrogance. His Armani suit caught the spotlight perfectly, every movement calculated to command attention. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight will be a night of surprises. Preston's voice boomed through the speakers, dripping with the same condescension that had tormented Damon for years. Holden Pierce materialized beside him, slapping Preston's shoulder. Especially when Damon Wells shows up. The crowd erupted in anticipation, their laughter sharp as broken glass. Sloane Merritt's giggle cut through the noise. Do you guys remember? He used to sit alone every single lunch period, like a ghost nobody wanted to see. The memory crashed into Damon like a physical blow. 17 years old, clutching his lunch tray, searching desperately for an empty seat in the cafeteria. Every table mysteriously full whenever he approached. Hey, trash! Garrett's foot had shot out, sending Damon sprawling. The tray clattered across the marble floor, food exploding in every direction. This section is for real people only, not charity cases. The entire cafeteria had erupted in laughter. Teachers looked away. Security guards suddenly found their shoes fascinating. Damon had knelt in silence, picking up each piece of scattered food, while hundreds of eyes bore into his back. Back in the present, Damon spotted Naomi Roberts standing in a distant corner. Her body language screamed discomfort, arms crossed tightly over her designer dress. She kept glancing at the exit, then back at the stage, trapped between escape and obligation. I sent a special invitation to our dear Damon, Preston continued, his smile widening. And guess what? He actually confirmed. Can you believe it? Bianca Prescott squealed in delight. Oh my God, this is going to be absolutely epic. Do we have cameras ready? Dexter Caldwell waved his phone like a trophy. I'll live stream everything. My followers need to see this content. Loser returns to face reality. It'll go viral for sure. 30 minutes until the main show begins. Preston tapped his Patek Philippe with theatrical flair. Our special guest should arrive any moment now. Damon's phone vibrated silently. He glanced at the screen, fingers steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The message was brief. Everything ready? His response was even shorter. LED screen setup. IT team on standby. Awaiting your signal, sir. He drew in a deep breath that seemed to pull courage from the very air. The baseball cap came off, revealing his face to the harsh ballroom lights. No more hiding. No more shadows. The first step into the light felt like crossing a battlefield. Each footfall echoed with purpose, drawing curious glances from the crowd. Whispers began rippling through the room like dominoes falling in slow motion. Is that... No way. It can't be. Preston's eyes locked onto him from across the room. For a split second, genuine shock flashed across his face before the practiced smile snapped back into place. He raised the microphone again, voice dripping with false warmth. Well, 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 look who decided to grace us with his presence. The spotlight swung wildly, hunting for Damon like a predator seeking prey. When it finally found him, the entire room seemed to inhale collectively. There he stood, worn hoodie, ripped jeans, scuffed Converse. Exactly what they expected. Exactly what he wanted them to see. Garrett's laugh cracked like a whip. Holy shit! He looks even worse than in school. But Damon kept walking, each step measured and deliberate. His phone buzzed again, another 8-figure deal closing in Tokyo. He ignored it. That revelation would come later. Preston's grin stretched wider, sensing blood in the water. Everyone, please welcome back our very own Damon Wells, the man, the myth, the legend. The way he said legend made it sound like a disease. Sloane stage whispered to Bianca, loud enough for everyone to hear. Look at those clothes. Do you think he's homeless? Maybe we should take up a collection, Bianca replied, fake sympathy dripping from every word. Damon reached the center of the room, surrounded by his former classmates like a gladiator in an arena. He stood perfectly still, letting their mockery wash over him like rain over stone. Preston descended from the stage, arms spread wide in mock welcome. Damon, my man, ready to share your incredible success story with everyone? The trap was set. The show was about to begin. And none of them suspected that the prey had become the predator. Holy shit! Damon? Garrett was the first to break the spell, his champagne glass frozen halfway to his lips. The amber liquid trembled, matching the shock in his voice. Damon moved through the crowd with deliberate slowness, each step calculated to maximize their discomfort. The worn hoodie and ripped jeans weren't poverty. They were camouflage. A test to see if anything had changed in 5 years. Nothing had. Damon Wells! Preston's voice cracked slightly before he recovered. The man of the hour has arrived. He jumped down from the stage, arms spread wide like a televangelist greeting his flock. Everyone, our Pemberton legend is here. The laughter that followed was sharp enough to draw blood. Someone whistled mockingly. Another person slow clapped. The sound echoed through the ballroom like gunfire. Holden Pierce pushed through the crowd, his cologne arriving before he did. He slapped Damon's back hard enough to sting. Bro, long time no see. Life treating you, okay? His eyes performed a slow scan from Damon's scuffed sneakers to his uncombed hair, lips curling into that familiar smirk. I'm fine. Damon's voice was steady, deeper than they remembered. Sloane Merritt approached next, spraying perfume as she walked, as if poverty might be contagious. Damon, you look exactly the same. She laughed, high and false. That's so authentic of you. Tell us what you're doing these days, Bianca Prescott chimed in, her voice syrupy sweet. IT support? Customer service? Oh wait, let me guess. You're between jobs? Damon remained silent, his dark eyes moving from face to face like a general surveying a battlefield. These were the same people who had made his life hell. The same sneers, the same casual cruelty wrapped in designer clothes. Dexter Caldwell shoved his phone in Damon's face. Yo, Damon, say hi to my 50,000 followers. They're dying to see our reunion with all the successful graduates. He emphasized successful like a knife thrust. The memories crashed over Damon in waves. 18 years old, standing before the entire business class, presenting his startup idea with shaking hands. A platform connecting minority entrepreneurs with investors, he'd said, voice cracking with nervous passion. Breaking down the barriers that keep talent from funding. Preston had interrupted from the back row. "Who's going to invest in a bunch of broke black kids? That's not a business. That's charity." The laughter had been deafening. Mr. Morrison, their teacher, had simply looked at his papers, saying nothing. Only Naomi had turned around, her eyes apologizing for her silence. "Damon!" Preston's voice snapped him back to the present. He found himself being dragged into the center of a rapidly forming circle. "You have to tell everyone about your life. Don't be shy." The circle tightened like a noose. Phones appeared in every hand, cameras pointed like weapons. They wanted content. They wanted to document his failure. But Damon smiled. It was a smile none of them had seen before. Quiet, confident, dangerous. "I appreciate the welcome," he said, his voice carrying despite its softness. "But first, I should thank tonight's mysterious sponsor." "Whatever," Garrett waved dismissively. "Nobody cares about that. Tell us about you. Still living with Mommy? Food stamps keeping you fed?" Damon's phone vibrated. He glanced down at the screen, letting them see him check it. The message was brief but powerful. "Tokyo deal closed. 75 million transferred. Awaiting your next instructions." He locked the screen and looked directly at Preston. "Perhaps we should start the main program. I believe you had something special planned?" Preston's eyes gleamed with malicious delight. "Oh, we definitely do. But first, let's catch up properly." He turned to the crowd. "Who wants to hear about Damon's career trajectory?" "I bet he drives Uber," someone shouted. "Nah, probably can't afford a car," another voice added. "Maybe he's a janitor here," Holden suggested. "Coming back to clean the place that rejected him." The laughter grew louder. Meaner. They were circling now, sharks smelling blood in the water. 5 years of pent-up superiority complexes finally had an outlet. "Actually," Naomi Roberts stepped forward from the shadows, her voice cutting through the noise. "Maybe we should just enjoy the reunion without what?" Sloane spun on her. "Without having fun? Come on, Naomi. Don't be such a buzzkill. Damon knows we're just joking around. Right, Damon?" All eyes turned to him. This was the moment they expected him to break, to stutter, to make excuses, to confirm every assumption they'd carried for 5 years. Instead, Damon checked his phone again. Another message. "Sir, the Forbes article just went live. Also, the acquisition papers are ready for your signature. The board is waiting." He pocketed the device and met Preston's gaze. "You asked about my career trajectory." His voice was calm as still water. "I've been busy." "Busy doing what?" Preston pressed, sensing something shifting in the room's dynamics. "Come on, don't be modest. Share with the class." "Building," Damon replied simply. "Building what? Sandcastles?" Garrett laughed at his own joke. "No." Damon's smile widened slightly. "Building the future you're about to live in, whether you like it or not." The room fell silent for a heartbeat. Something in his tone, in his posture, in the absolute certainty of his words, sent a chill through the crowd. Preston laughed nervously. "Okay, enough mysterious bullshit. Time for the real show." He grabbed Damon's arm. "Everyone, to the main stage. Our guest of honor has a speech to give." As they moved toward the stage, Damon noticed Elliot Russo, one of the catering staff, watching from the corner. The man's eyes widened in recognition, and he immediately straightened, offering a subtle bow. Preston noticed too. "Look at that! Even the help feels sorry for you, Damon. How pathetic is that?" If only he knew, Damon thought. If only he knew that The Help was a senior journalist for the Times, working undercover for a story about wealth and power in America. If only any of them knew what was about to happen. The stage lights blazed to life. The trap was set. But the question remained. Who was really caught in it? Preston's grip on Damon's arm was iron tight as he dragged him up the steps. The stage lights hit like a physical force, hot and blinding. 400 pairs of eyes locked onto them, hungry for entertainment. Speech! 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 The chant started in the back, spreading through the ballroom like wildfire. Phones rose in unison, a sea of glowing rectangles ready to capture humiliation. Garrett's voice boomed over the crowd. Tell us about living on food stamps, government housing, the American dream, baby. Damon took the microphone, its weight familiar in his hand. Silence fell like a hammer. He counted his heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, letting the anticipation build until it was almost unbearable. Thank you, Preston. His voice filled the room, calm and controlled. For creating this opportunity. Preston puffed up like a peacock. Of course. We had to give everyone a chance to see how far we've all come. Some of us further than others, obviously. The laughter that followed was cruel and sharp. Someone shouted, From the bottom to still the bottom. You're right, Damon continued, eyes scanning the crowd. Some of us have come very far. I remember this room, this stage, the last time I stood here. Oh God, here comes the sob story, Bianca Stage whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. No sob story, Damon said. Just facts. 5 years ago, you locked me in a supply closet for 3 hours during prom. Preston, you said it was just a prank. Preston shifted uncomfortably. Come on, man. Ancient history. Boys being boys. Or the time you poured paint on my desk with Go Back to Africa written in black marker. Damon's voice never wavered. Garrett, you took photos. Posted them everywhere. The principal said there was no proof who did it. The room's energy shifted. Phones lowered slightly. This wasn't the script they expected. Damon. Naomi's voice carried from below, warning and pleading mixed together. I'm not here for apologies, Damon continued. I'm here because someone paid $2 million to sponsor this event. Someone who wanted to make sure everyone attended. Especially me. So what? Holden interrupted. Some rich idiot wanted to waste money. Who cares? You should. Damon looked directly at him. Because that rich idiot has been watching all of you very carefully. Your careers, your failures, your lies. What the hell are you talking about? Preston snatched at the microphone, but Damon stepped back smoothly. The sponsor had one special request, not just to invite everyone, but to install something specific in this ballroom. Dexter lowered his camera. What are you playing at, Wells? Holden, tell everyone about your startup, the one that just got Series A funding. Holden straightened, eager to brag. $3.5 million. Revolutionary app for nothing, because it doesn't exist. Damon's words cut like a blade. You've been lying to everyone for months, living off credit cards. Your car got repossessed last week. How could you? Holden's face drained of color. Preston, should we discuss Hartley Capital, your father's firm that you claim to help manage? Preston's confident mask finally cracked. What about it? Nothing. Just wondering if he told you about the acquisition offer he received, the one he accepted last Monday. That's confidential. How do you… No, Damon smiled. The same way I know Garrett's been rejected from every job interview in 6 months. The same way I know Bianca got fired from Vogue for plagiarism. The same way I know Sloane's trust fund ran out and she's selling her jewelry on eBay. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Accusations flew. Denials crashed against truth. But Damon raised his hand, and surprisingly, they quieted. You want to know how I know? Look up. 400 heads tilted back. The massive LED screen that dominated the ballroom ceiling flickered to life. What the hell? Preston spun around, searching for the tech booth. Who's running that? My team, Damon said simply. On my orders. Because you see, Preston, when you sent that invitation to mock the poor black kid one more time, you sent it to the wrong address. The screen displayed a single line of text. Nexus Technologies, tonight's exclusive sponsor. Nexus? Someone gasped. The company that just IPO'd for billions? The very same, Damon confirmed. Founded 5 years ago, the same month I left Pemberton. Funny how time works. No. Garrett shook his head violently. No way. You're lying. This is some sick joke. Is it? Damon pulled out his phone, typed quickly. Check your phones. All of you. Google Nexus Technologies CEO. The room became a frantic sea of typing. Then, one by one, faces went white. Phones clattered to the floor. Someone actually fainted. Because there, on every screen, was the same image. Damon Wells ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, surrounded by cheering traders. That's... Preston's voice cracked completely. That's impossible. Impossible? Damon tilted his head. Like a black kid from the projects building $1 billion company? Like someone you called worthless becoming more powerful than everyone in this room combined? That kind of impossible? The LED screen came alive with a cascade of images. Damon with Mark Zuckerberg. Damon speaking at TED. Damon on the cover of Forbes with the headline, "The Youngest Black Billionaire in Tech." This is fake! Dexter screamed. CGI! Deep fakes! Something! Feel free to verify, Damon said calmly. Call anyone. Check any source. Hell, call the Wall Street Journal. They ran a feature on me last week. But the real blow was yet to come. The screen changed again, showing a document that made Preston actually stumble backward. Hartley Capital Acquisition Agreement, Damon read aloud. Purchased by Nexus Ventures for $500 million. Completion date, last Monday. New ownership takes effect, Monday morning. Dad never said. Preston's legs gave out. He collapsed into a chair. Who bought? I did. Damon's voice was soft now, almost gentle. Through shell companies, of course. Your father has no idea who the new owner is, but you'll find out Monday morning when you get an email from HR. Something about restructuring. The ballroom erupted. Shouts, accusations, pleas for mercy all blended into a cacophony of desperation. But Damon wasn't finished. Holden, remember that startup pitch you submitted to Nexus Ventures? The one you bragged about all night? Holden nodded mutely, beyond words. I reviewed it personally. Rejected it in 30 seconds. Want to know why? The screen displayed the rejection email, Damon's signature bold at the bottom. Because your idea was bad, your execution was worse, and your attitude was toxic. Just like it was 5 years ago when you said people like me didn't belong in business. The crowd stood frozen, watching their worlds crumble in real time. The hunter had become the hunted. The joke had become the punchline. And Damon Wells, the kid they'd tried to break, stood at the center of it all, unbroken and unbowed. Garrett's hands shook violently as he typed Damon Wells CEO Nexus into his phone. The search results loaded instantly, each link another nail in the coffin of their arrogance. Net worth, $1.2 billion. His voice strangled on the numbers. This can't be real. This can't be fucking real. The LED screen exploded with new images. Damon shaking hands with President Biden. Damon keynoting at Davos. Damon's TED Talk with 40 million views. From food stamps to Fortune 500. "You're lying!" Bianca shrieked, mascara running down her cheeks. "You wore that hoodie! You looked homeless! You tricked us!" "I wore what I always wore," Damon replied evenly. "You saw what you wanted to see. A failure. A nobody. Someone beneath you." The screen shifted to a CNBC interview. Damon's voice filled the ballroom. "The best entrepreneurs are underestimated. It gives them time to build while others are busy laughing." "But how?" Sloane stumbled forward, designer heels catching on nothing. "We would have heard. Someone would have told us." "Who would tell you?" Damon asked. "You live in an echo chamber, surrounding yourselves with mirrors that only reflect what you want to see. You never looked beyond your small, petty world." Preston struggled to his feet, face cycling through emotions like a broken slot machine. The sponsor, the mysterious sponsor who demanded the LED screen. That was me. $2 million to gather everyone here. Pocket change, honestly. My assistant handles larger transactions during her coffee break. "Why?" Preston's voice broke completely. "Why all this? Just to humiliate us?" "Humiliate?" Damon laughed, a sound none of them had ever heard from him. "Preston, you humiliate yourselves every day, living off Daddy's money, faking success, stepping on others to feel tall. I didn't need to humiliate you. I just needed to show you who you really are." The screen changed again. Financial records, company valuations, acquisition strategies, the complete corporate autopsy of their lives laid bare. Garrett Knox, 6 failed job interviews because you can't code, can't sell, can't create. You can only destroy. Every company researched your social media, saw the bullying, the racism, the cruel jokes. You're unemployable. Garrett sank to his knees. Bianca Prescott, fired from Vogue for stealing another writer's work, just like you stole my essay senior year and submitted it as yours. Patterns, Bianca. They follow us. Bianca covered her face, sobbing. Holden Pierce, 3 startups, 3 failures, not because the market was bad, because you are. You treat employees like servants, partners like stepping stones. Your reputation precedes you now. Stop, Holden begged. Please, just stop. But Damon continued, methodical as a surgeon. Sloane Merritt, trust fund empty, selling grandmother's jewelry to pay rent. Still posting Instagram photos from hotels you can't afford, restaurants where you dine and dash. The lifestyle you mocked me for not having is the one you're desperately faking. And Preston. Damon turned to face him directly. Preston Hartley, VP at Daddy's firm. Except there is no VP position. You're an intern with a fancy title. Your father told investors you're learning the business. Translation, he doesn't trust you with real responsibility. How do you know all this? Preston whispered. Because information is power. And power? Damon gestured to the screen showing Nexus Technologies' vast corporate structure, is what I've been building while you were planning this pathetic reunion. Dr. Morrison suddenly emerged from the crowd, his aged face heavy with disappointment. Enough, Damon. This isn't justice. This is revenge. For the first time all night, Damon paused. His former teacher, one of the few who'd shown him kindness, stood before him like a ghost from conscience past. Dr. Morrison. Damon's voice softened. You told me success was the best revenge. Remember? I told you success would speak for itself, not that you should use it as a weapon. They made me a weapon, Damon replied. Every insult, every attack, every day they told me I was nothing. They forged me in their cruelty. Now they face what they created. You're better than this, Morrison insisted. The boy I taught had compassion. The boy you taught is dead. Damon's words fell like stones. They killed him the day they wrote nigger on his locker and you did nothing. The day they jumped him after school and you looked away. The day they destroyed his scholarship applications and you said you couldn't prove anything. Morrison's face crumbled. I was afraid. The parents, the board, they had power, and now I have more. Damon turned back to the crowd. But Dr. Morrison is right about one thing. I am better than this. Better than you. The screen went dark. For a moment, hope flickered in Preston's eyes. Then it blazed back to life with two words that changed everything. Wells Foundation. What you're seeing, Damon announced, is tomorrow's press release. The Wells Foundation for Minority Excellence, funded with $1 billion of my personal wealth, full scholarships for students like I was, mentorship programs, startup incubators, everything I didn't have, they will. The twist wasn't just his success. It was what he planned to do with it. And you, he looked at each of them in turn, you're going to help me build it, whether you want to or not. What do you mean, help you? Preston's voice barely qualified as a whisper, his Armani suit now disheveled from collapse and despair. Damon stepped down from the stage, each footfall echoing in the stunned silence. Simple. You all have a choice. Work for the foundation, genuinely help the kids you once tormented, or watch your careers end before they begin. That's blackmail, Holden snarled, finding his voice again. No, Damon corrected. Blackmail implies I'm hiding something shameful about you. Everything I've shared is public record. Your failures, your lies, your cruelties, they're all documented. I'm offering redemption. The screen illuminated with program details, teaching positions, mentorship roles, administrative support, real jobs with real responsibilities and real consequences. 2 years, Damon continued. Minimum commitment. Full salary, but here's the catch. You'll report to the very people you once looked down on. Garrett, your supervisor will be Jamal Williams, a black coder from Compton. Preston, you'll answer to Maria Santos, a Latina CEO who built her company from nothing. I won't do it, Garrett spat. You can't force us. Force? Damon pulled out his phone, showing a contacts list that read like a Fortune 500 directory. One call. That's all it takes. One call to any major employer, any VC firm, any opportunity you might pursue. Your digital footprint is poison. Your reputation is cancer. But work for me, genuinely change, and I'll give you something priceless, a second chance. Naomi stepped forward, tears streaming. Damon, I should have done more. I knew it was wrong, but I was scared. You tried, Damon acknowledged. Not enough, but more than anyone else. Check your email Monday. There's a VP position at Nexus waiting. We need people who understand the cost of silence. You're serious, she breathed. Dead serious. The foundation launches next month. We're acquiring Pemberton Academy and 12 other elite schools, mandatory diversity quotas, scholarship programs, and anti-bullying policies with real teeth. Sloane crawled forward on her designer dress. Please, Damon, I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. I don't want apologies, Damon cut her off. I want action. You'll teach art to inner-city kids. Show them the culture you said they could never understand. Prove me wrong about who you are. One by one, they capitulated. Dexter agreed to document success stories instead of mockery. Bianca would write about overcoming privilege, not fashion. Even Holden accepted a role teaching entrepreneurship to minority students. Only Preston remained standing, a broken king surveying his ruined kingdom. Why give us anything? He asked. We destroyed you. We tried to break you. Why not just destroy us completely? Damon studied him for a long moment. Because destruction is easy. Creation is hard. Any fool can tear down. It takes strength to build up. You taught me that, Preston. Every time you tried to break me, you showed me what not to become. I don't understand. Monday morning, you'll receive 2 emails. One from Hartley Capital's HR, informing you of your termination. The other from Wells Foundation, offering you a position as program director for Reformed Leadership. Reformed what? You'll help other bullies understand the cost of their actions. Use your experience, your fall from grace, to teach empathy. Turn your greatest shame into someone else's salvation. Preston's legs finally gave out completely. He sat on the floor, Armani suit against polished marble, and began to cry. Not the pretty tears of manipulation, but the ugly sobs of genuine realization. I'm sorry, he choked out. God, Damon, I'm so fucking sorry. I know, Damon said quietly. That's why you get a choice. That's why you all do. The ballroom doors burst open. Security rushed in, not Pemberton's, but Nexus personnel. Behind them, journalists flooded the space, including Elliot Russo with his camera ready. One more thing, Damon announced as cameras started rolling. This entire evening has been documented. Every word, every reaction, every moment of truth. It'll air as a documentary next month. The Price of Prejudice, An American Reckoning. You filmed us? Bianca gasped. You filmed yourselves, Damon gestured to their phones. I just made sure the whole story was told. The bullying, the pain, the consequences, and hopefully, the redemption. He turned to address the cameras directly. To every kid who's been told they don't belong, who's been mocked for their skin color, their accent, their poverty, this is for you. They'll try to break you. Don't let them. Build instead. Build so high they have to look up to see you. The screen displayed one final image. Young Damon, bruised and crying after being attacked, next to current Damon signing billion-dollar deals. From victim to victor, from food stamps to Fortune 500. Not despite them, but because of them. They made me hungry. Now I feast on their humility. He walked toward the exit, pausing at the door. Monday morning. Wells Foundation. Don't be late. We have a generation to save. The door closed behind him with definitive finality, leaving 400 people to contemplate their choices in the harsh light of accountability. 6 months later, the Wells Foundation campus buzzed with unprecedented energy. Where once stood Pemberton Academy's ivory tower, now thrived a revolutionary experiment in redemption and education. The transformation was total, deliberate, and irreversible. Preston Hartley stood before 30 teenagers, sweat beading on his forehead. His audience wasn't the privileged elite he once commanded, but kids from housing projects, foster homes, and struggling families. Kids who looked at him with the same suspicion he once directed at Damon. Who can tell me why most startups fail? He asked, his voice lacking its old arrogance. A young black girl raised her hand. Because rich kids think money equals talent? The class laughed. Preston's face reddened, but he nodded. That's actually one reason. I should know. I was that rich kid. Through the observation window, Damon watched with Maria Santos, the Foundation's Director of Operations. He's learning, Maria noted. Slowly, painfully, but learning. Pain is an excellent teacher, Damon replied. He discovers that every day when his students challenge him, question him, force him to earn their respect instead of demanding it. Across campus, Garrett Knox debugged code alongside Jamal Williams, his 22-year-old supervisor. The reversal of power was deliberate. Garrett, who once mocked charity cases, now depended on one for his performance reviews. "Your algorithm is inefficient," Jamal pointed out. "Like your old worldview. Too many assumptions, not enough data." Garrett bit back his instinctive retort. 3 months ago, he would have exploded. Now he simply nodded and rewrote the function. Progress. Measured in humility. The documentary The Price of Prejudice had premiered to 50 million views in its first week. Bianca Prescott watched herself on screen, cringing at every cruel word, every casual dismissal of human dignity. Her assignment was to write about the experience for the Foundation's magazine, but words failed her. "I can't capture it," she told her editor, a young Indigenous woman named Sarah Crow. "How do I explain what we were without excusing it?" "You don't explain," Sarah said firmly. "You expose. Your readers need truth, not rationalization." Bianca's article, "The Poison of Privilege," eventually won a Pulitzer nomination. Not for its elegance, but for its brutal honesty about how prejudice perpetuates through willful blindness. Sloan Merritt's art students in Brownsville had initially rejected her completely. Why should they trust someone who'd spent years mocking their existence? But art has a way of revealing truth, and slowly, through shared creation, barriers crumbled. "Miss S," one student asked during a painting session, "why did you hate people like us?" Sloane's hand stilled on her brush. "I didn't think I hated anyone." That was the problem. Indifference can be worse than hate. At least hate acknowledges humanity. The ripple effects spread beyond the original tormentors. Pemberton Academy's transformation triggered a national reckoning. 20 elite schools adopted similar programs. Harvard Business School created a mandatory course on privilege and responsibility. Silicon Valley firms instituted bias training that actually worked because it was designed by those who'd suffered from bias. Dr. Morrison, despite his age, threw himself into reform with desperate energy. His new curriculum, Teaching Against Prejudice, became the gold standard. In every lecture, he began with the same confession. "I failed my students by choosing comfort over courage. Never again." The Wells Foundation's first graduating class produced extraordinary results. 98% college acceptance rate, 42 full scholarships to Ivy League schools, 15 startup founders before graduation. But Damon measured success differently. "Look at their eyes," he told a reporter during a campus tour. "See that confidence? That belief in their own worth? That's the real victory. Everything else is just metrics." Preston's transformation was perhaps the most dramatic. The man who once defined himself by inherited privilege now found purpose in dismantling it. His program for reformed leaders expanded nationally, teaching other fallen elites how to rebuild with humanity. "I spent 23 years believing I was superior by birthright," he told each new cohort. "It took a black kid I terrorized to teach me that superiority is earned through service, not inherited through privilege." The financial impact was staggering. Nexus Technologies' value doubled as investors recognized that diversity wasn't charity, but competitive advantage. The students Damon lifted up became innovators, leaders, change-makers. They built companies, shaped policies, redefined possible. But the personal transformations mattered more than any dollar figure. Garrett, who once used racial slurs as casual conversation, now mentored black coders with genuine respect. Holden, who'd failed through arrogance, succeeded through humility. Sloan discovered artistic purpose beyond social media facades. Even Bianca, fired for plagiarism, found redemption in radical honesty. Her writing, stripped of pretense, resonated with millions grappling with their own prejudices. The Foundation's influence spread like wildfire. Other billionaires followed Damon's model, creating similar programs. The phrase Wells effect entered business vocabulary, describing how diversity drives innovation. Yet Damon remained focused on individual lives. Every scholarship awarded, every barrier broken, every prejudice overcome. These were his true profits. The boy they tried to break had built something unbreakable. A future where potential wasn't limited by pigment. 2 years after the reunion that changed everything, Damon Wells stood before the United Nations General Assembly. 3,000 delegates from 190 countries listened in absolute silence as his voice carried across the historic hall. "Revenge is easy," he began, the words echoing his journey. "Forgiveness is profitable, but transformation is priceless." The cameras captured Preston Hartley in the audience, no longer the arrogant heir, but a humbled educator. His eyes glistened with tears he no longer tried to hide. Beside him sat Garrett, Sloane, Bianca, and Holden, not as victims of vindication, but as witnesses to redemption. 2 years ago, I bought my bullies' futures, not to destroy them, but to rebuild them. They taught me cruelty. I taught them consequence. Together, we're teaching the world that change is possible. Standing ovation erupted, lasting 12 minutes. But Damon raised his hand for silence. The Wells Foundation has reached 1 million students across 50 states and 30 countries. But numbers don't tell the story. Jamal Williams, who Garrett Knox now proudly calls his mentor, just secured $20 million in funding for his AI startup. Maria Santos, who Preston once wouldn't have acknowledged, is revolutionizing education technology. These are the profits of prejudice transformed into purpose. His phone buzzed. A message from his mother. "Your father would be so proud. You kept both promises, success and goodness." After the speech, Damon found Preston waiting by his car, no longer the desperate figure from 2 years ago, but a man transformed by purpose. "Coffee?" Preston asked. "I want to tell you about Keisha, 15 years old, from the Bronx. Reminds me of someone I used to torment. She just got into MIT. "Full scholarship?" Damon asked. "Full scholarship. Early admission. She's going to change the world." Preston's voice cracked. "And she almost didn't apply because someone like the old me told her she didn't belong." They drove through New York's gleaming streets, 2 men who'd traveled the longest possible journey, from cruelty to compassion, from prejudice to purpose. "Do you forgive us?" Preston asked suddenly. "Really forgive us?" Damon considered the question that had haunted 2 years of transformation. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give others. It's a gift you give yourself. "I forgave you the day I realized your hatred made me unstoppable. And now? Now you're making others unstoppable. That's not forgiveness. That's justice." As they sat in a small cafe, no photographers, no cameras, just 2 humans sharing coffee and consequences, Preston pulled out his phone to show pictures of his students. Each face represented a future the old Preston would have dismissed or destroyed. "They're brilliant," he said simply. "Every single one. How did I miss that for so long?" "You saw what you were taught to see," Damon replied. "Now you're teaching others to see differently. That's evolution." The screen in Times Square lit up with Wells Foundation statistics. 2 million students served. 5,000 companies started. 100 billion in economic impact. But Damon looked past the numbers to the faces. Young, diverse, determined. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the best revenge really is massive success. Not because it hurts your enemies, but because it heals everyone else." Preston nodded, understanding finally complete. They'd all learned the hardest lesson. Privilege isn't power, prejudice isn't strength, and the people you step on while climbing might be the ones who teach you how to soar. The boy they'd tried to break hadn't just survived or succeeded. He'd transformed poison into medicine, hatred into hope, prejudice into possibility, and that was the greatest revenge of all, making them better than they ever imagined they could be.